Welcome to Pathways to Partnership, the podcast powered by MoveAmerica. Here, we explore the intersection of industry, government, and academia, where collaboration sparks innovation and strengthens our nation's defense industrial base. Each episode will bring you thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and real-world success stories that showcase the pathways to building a stronger, more innovative defense industry. And now, here's your host, Rick from MoveAmerica.
Today, we're going to be talking about entering the federal supply chain, or as I like to call it, how to boldly go where emerging and non-traditional businesses haven't gone before yet. I am your guide for today's federal contracting adventure. And joining me is Jay Davis. Jay is business counselor at MoveAmerica's APEX Accelerator in Dearborn, Michigan. Jay's the guy with the map, the flashlight, and probably some snacks for the journey. So, Jay, why don't you kick us off and give us a little preview of what we're going to cover and also tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. We can just kind of get in touch with this. Hold on, just getting my notes up here. All right. We will be kind of touching on the milestones in entering government contracting, the role of APEX accelerators, and guiding businesses in that process, and really just review the steps in registration, bidding, winning, and managing federal contracts. A little bit about myself, exactly like Rick. A lot of people have difficulty pronouncing my first name. I am, though, J. Leon Davis. But I kind of go by Jay Davis for short, just to save people the embarrassment. It's okay if you call me either one. Just go by Jay, though. Of course, we'll just be introducing the ethic of government contracting. A lot of folk have been in business to business and are looking to make that transition. So we'll talk about the APEX Accelerator's role in doing so. Like I said, how to register your business, how to find contracts. We'll speak to the compliance piece, how to actually contract, post-award management, and resources to support those efforts. I know we're kind of looking at this throughout the country, so we'll get you in touch with your local APEX.
Yep, because that is something I do want to remind everybody. Jay does work for our APEX Accelerator in Dearborn, Michigan, but we know that we've got folks from all over the country. We will always make sure that we put you in touch with your local APEX. But Jay, thanks so much for joining us, and you know, I'm glad that you told everybody how to pronounce your first name, because I was making a little note myself just for the future. But thankfully, you do allow me to call you Jay.
Absolutely, my friend. Honestly, I was thinking the same thing about your last name, Ostapovix. Now I know.
Yeah, I always look at it this way. Just don't call me late for dinner, right? So now, yeah, exactly. So before we get into all the Sams, the Cages, the Nakeses, I mean, it's like this whole secret agent alphabet soup that we're going to be talking about today, right? Now, let's go ahead and start with, again, who we are and how we can help. So, Jay, what I'm going to ask you to do is give us your best elevator pitch here. Tell the folks about MoveAmerica and our APEX and what this thing is all about, what exactly is an APEX Accelerator, and how do you guys help emerging businesses level up?
Absolutely that. So MoveAmerica is a behemoth. We've had our fearless leader, Mr. Earl Wyatt, on your podcast last, and some of the other top brass that runs MoveAmerica. It is indeed a 501c3 that's geared toward national security, has multiple efforts in doing that: research and development, supply chain, industrial development, consortium development. And in the context of the APEX Accelerator, we really do help or kind of do a bit of hand-holding for small businesses that are just getting into the federal contracting space. We do help, like mentioned, like with registration on sam.gov. We help with the marketing piece to kind of showcase your core capabilities to the specific department that you have the ability to service or create products for. We really bridge the gap with networking opportunities, town halls, and really just connecting government with the commercial market.
Fantastic. And we appreciate you giving us that whole big picture as far as things go. Again, we really do appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all about the stuff that we're going to talk to you today. So, one of the things I really want to focus on is, like the key services that we're offering, right? Now, Jay, we know that you're the Obi-Wan to our business Jedis out there. Let's talk about the tools in your utility belt, or should I say your client toolbox. So what kind of support are businesses actually getting when they come to an APEX Accelerator?
Absolutely that. So the introduction, first of all, into defense contracting specifically. If there is a commercial product that an individual manufacturer has, even I would say up to stage 2 in business, I would say they are prime to either look at some government opportunities or to get the certification or compliance that would allow them to do so. So we kind of help bridge the gap there. Like we said, let them know where the procurement opportunities are. So we do, of course, support the federal opportunities, all departments of state, not just the Department of Defense. We also support with state opportunities as well as local. So kind of going after the opportunity, you have to know where they are. So with the federal government, sam.gov is exactly where all procurement opportunities are going to be with. So whether you're working with the Army, Navy, Marines, whether you're working with the Department of Justice, Small Business Administration, in which case the context to provide goods or services, all of those solicitations are going to be on sam.gov at the federal space. On the state, specifically here in the state of Michigan, we do have the Sigma portal, Sigma BSS, in which case any procurement opportunities in the state of Michigan, it'll be posted there along with documents needed for compliance and for proposal development. Also, there is opportunities for support at the city or the local level. The city of Detroit off of hand, which is the largest procurer in the state of Michigan, and about 15 minutes west of where our home office is in Dearborn, they procure about $1.2 billion in goods and services. Their platform is called Oracle. So telling them where those opportunities are, walking them through the registration process, and then the compliance piece for any certifications, any clearances that they need, we'd also make sure that they have them as well. So if you're just first coming into the federal contracting space, most likely you don't have the fundamental pieces like your UEI, like your cage code, in which case we would help walk you through, get those things. The UEI replacing the DUN number or the universal entity identifier. It's your specific code to your specific business. So if, for example, there is a mortgage brokerage called JD Financial, off the top of my head, there is a number to identify that. Or if Rick's has Rick's Sporting Goods, it sounds like a really good name, Rick. I don't know, you might have to get into that. He would have a UEI to identify his business. And so the NAICS codes and cage codes are a little bit different. Your North American Industry Classification System code helps identify the industry that you're in. Let's just say that you're specifically in construction. Let's just say that you are in artificial development. The industry that you're speaking to provide services or goods for, that is your NAICS code, in which case we would help identify that for you. And then your cage code for the specific product or service that you're offering. So the commercial and government entity code. So we help businesses that are just entering the federal contracting space first get those pieces and then help coach them through the next pieces with getting compliant and kind of position it well for government contracting.
All right. So, now we're really getting into the nitty gritty, right? Because this really is you must be this tall to ride the ride part. Because we want to make sure that people understand getting registered is what you need to do so you can even start to think about bidding on government contracts, right?
Exactly that. It's where all the opportunities are. You have to be on that platform, sam.gov, and it can be a bit comprehensive. Some people I know have been trying to register for weeks. With business counselor from an Apex Accelerator, it'll take about an hour and a half, in which case it's a 2-step process for entity validation with your local municipality, and then of course more supplemental information about some of the goods and services that you provide.
Now, let me just ask, what are some of the common hangups or mistakes that businesses hit when they're trying to register, whether again it's for sam.gov or for getting your cage code or getting your NAICS classification? What are you seeing when you're helping out these businesses?
So there's a technical piece. Sam.gov has just went through a huge makeover quite recently. When I say recently, I mean within the last week. So the way that Sam was set up, how it was structured up until last week looks completely different. For me, it's a bit more navigable. Contract opportunities are easier to find, and you're able to kind of filter the type of opportunities there a little bit more seamlessly. So I like it, but if anyone's working on the old system, then you might come out and say, hey, this is new. Indeed it is. Things do change even with administration. So the common hangups with doing that is just navigating the technology. Some people are kind of old school, so getting in front of a computer that's kind of mandating a lot of information from an individual can be cumbersome. Another thing that we see is just they don't understand some of the terminology, like a labor surplus area. What does that mean? Is that applicable to me? In which case you would need an Apex Accelerator counselor just to speak to, how to, kind of bridge that gap there, know what it means, and then know if it's applicable to your company, if it's not.
No, and that's fantastic because I think that's really the thing is a lot of people don't understand just exactly what's incorporated in all this, what's involved in all this, what kind of time it takes. And so that's really something that you can help out with. And then when you're talking again about finding and bidding on contracts, once a business gets registered, that's when it's time to, I like to liken it to hitting the government contract dating app, right? So you go to
I love that.
sam.gov. And of course, when they're doing that, we want them to swipe right on contracts, not on people. It's not about that, but again, we want to make sure that the businesses actually go about finding opportunities. So how do they do that once you get to sam.gov? And more importantly, once you find them, how do you actually bid on them?
Absolutely, that the dating pool for government contracting it's expansive. Like, get on in there. There's just multiple ways to find those opportunities. You want to make sure that you're looking at relevant opportunities. So there are two ways that you would go about doing this. So first, drink from the fountain approach. Of course, you can jump into sam.gov and filter. Once you go in, tap on the contract panel, and then on the left side, you could look at the place of performance to know if the opportunity is near to where you could actually provide the services. You could take a look at specific set asides, like the classification. If there is a woman-owned business, if there is a service-disabled veteran-owned business, and you have the certifications there, you can actually filter those opportunities to see the set asides that are specific to that specific certification. Again, place of performance, the specific certification that you have, and then potentially the department that you want to work for or with. The defense budget is quite extensive. And so if you have a commercial product and are looking to commercialize, a great client to have, if that is indeed your goal. But you could also look at working with, like I said, the Department of Justice, the SBA, go where the opportunities are, the General Service Administration, and you can filter based on department. So depending on what you kind of provide as a service, and you can kind of get this guidance from one of your counselors. Working with MoveAmerica, of course, you'd be able to learn a little bit about how to work through those filtered processes.
No, and that's fantastic. And a lot of people don't realize that it's about finding the right fit, right? It's kind of like when you're looking for a job, which we at Move America never do because we always say if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I don't believe I've worked since I started, working at Move America, although my timesheet would say differently. But
Indeed.
it really is something that I love to do. But it's about finding that fit. And when you're looking at these opportunities and you're deciding, okay, do I want to bid on it? Do I want to bid on it? This is one of those times where it's really better to focus in using, the laser scope rather than the scattergun effect, right? I mean, you don't say, well, I think I can do that. Or, yeah, I'm pretty sure we could eventually ramp up and do that. I'm going to go ahead and bid on this contract. You want to make sure that you're bidding on something that you can actually do, right?
Exactly that. Really looking at your past performance to say, have I, accepted a contract or done this level of service before? If not, then it's probably not a good opportunity for you. For example, we have a ton of construction projects around the city of Detroit and a lot of vendors doing that. If you've been doing $2 million projects in construction, of course, it's admirable to go after that 20 million, 50, $100 million project, but you would first look to see, have I done anything with similar scope, similar size? Do they have the capacity, the capability to provide services on time within the schedule of delivery? Is it feasible for me? Do I have the resources to make it happen? So exactly like Rick was saying, we want to be strategic about the opportunities that you go after, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to deliver those services, get your invoicing in, and get paid on time.
And then when it comes to, again, putting together a good proposal, I mean, I'm sure you've had some horror stories come across your desk that people think they're putting together a good proposal, and it's one of those things where this isn't subjective, right? It's not, oh, I wrote a lot, so they should they should really enjoy reading this, or I decided to include some pop culture references. It's not anything like that, right? I mean, you really need to be, again, strategic about how you put this proposal together.
Exactly that. You are going to want to dot your I's and cross your T's. What really determines if a proposal is accepted or rejected is within the details. So some things I would look out for is to make sure that you have, when going after a contract, that you would have adequate financial resources, the ability to comply or deliver the performance within the performance schedule. So if there is a project that needs to be completed within 60 or 90 days, that you have the means, the ability to make sure that you're within that 60 or 90 days. Make sure that you have satisfactory records or integrity in your business ethics and in your business policies. So, of course, we want to make sure that we're always doing the right thing, but making sure everything is by the book, obviously, as a business owner, is your responsibility. And making sure that you have, I would just say, the network or the support that you need in order to research the opportunity well and then be able to execute.
Yeah, because I mean, again, it really is about making sure that you're playing by the rules. And, if you find a contract and you bid on it and the government says yes, you're the bachelor or the bachelorette and you got that rose. It's a wonderful thing to get there, but you've got to be ready to get down on one knee at the end of that show, right? Not that I watch it. I actually try to avoid it like the plague. But again, when it comes to government contracts, I'll liken it to something else like the Olympics. There's just no cutting corners because they will catch you eventually. And so whether it's, again, making sure that you're able to perform, making sure that you're following the rules, the certifications, it's all that ethical stuff, right?
Exactly that. And that's exactly why you have the business counselors to help guide you through that.
And then, I mean, really, when it comes to certifications, right? So we'll talk about the different types of certifications. You've got, Hub Zone, you've got 8A, you've got WOSB. I mean, these are all really, big certifications, and, there again are requirements for all of that.
Exactly that. There are requirements, there are application. In some instances, there are fees that you would need to pay in order to get your application reviewed and to get the certification that you're going after. We have really great relationships with Move America and the certifying body. The SBA, of course, is responsible for the 8A program, for HubZone, for WASB. They kind of house all of that in-house. So we would be able to walk you through the application process, make sure, and this is a shameless plug, the Apex Accelerator will be hosting or co-hosting the SBA, the 8A program. We will be joining with the state district director, Lakita Henderson. We'll be getting insights for how the SBA is expanding their role in supporting certification. They just launched their brand new site. It's really seamless. You used to kind of have to go through different sites for different certifications. Back in October, they went ahead and got a facelift, and now the opportunity to apply is seamless for multiple certifications. But those are quite crucial to the types of set-asides that are available. The intention behind creating them was to create more opportunities for a diverse business sector. I like that instead of saying how we were going to describe that before. So we're getting better, Rick. We're getting better.
We are definitely getting better. And listen, we are all about shameless plugs here. So I'm going to put a 1-900 number up on the screen a little bit later to order my latest CD.
Okay.
Sorry, I just took a bunch of people back in time, and then there are other people. It's like I just shot a joke at them in the Matrix. But again, yeah, exactly. What's a 1-900 number? Yeah, we're going back to the 90s there. I'm sorry, I had to take that trip back. But speaking about taking trips, when you take a trip, you typically like to go far. You like that little bridge? That was a stretch. I'm sorry.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you do. And hopefully everybody else is following along. But again, when you're talking about FAR in this instance, you're talking about the Federal Acquisition Regulation. Why is that important? Why is that critical?
Absolutely. So the FAR, just a behemoth piece of regulation that covers all aspects of procurement in the country. It was really intimidating approaching it, but everything that you would need to do, every form that you would complete, it would be included within that federal acquisition regulation. It is honestly before our very eyes being changed right now with a couple of executive orders that were set forth by this administration at the top of the year. So a lot of those things are changing. However, the way to procure is quite set in stone. And it kind of helps make things a little bit more easier for identifying opportunities, making sure that you are compliant, and then just getting your services out there.
And then one thing I did want to ask you about, because this is something we touched on in one of our previous sessions when we were talking about FOCI, and it's about, again, the ethics. and it's about being transparent, and it's about being upfront. So I really feel like it's something that we need to make sure that we're mentioning here, because when we were talking to Dr. Christoph McCrae, he mentioned when you're talking about going after government contracts, this is not the situation where you want to say, well, it is better to ask forgiveness than permission. It's really one of those things where you need to be upfront about everything, because if it disqualifies you from a contract, you want to know that at the beginning of the process, not at the end, because that could have some serious ramifications, right?
Exactly that. And it really is to keep the individual business safe. So anywhere between planning, development to distribution, there is some bad actors that is going to want to get your client data. So standards and guides are put in place to make sure that that sensitive personal client data is inaccessible. So not only are we looking at, of course, the safety of the individual client, but to make sure that your business isn't compromised in any way either. I mean, it really only takes one or two times for any compromises to systems to be obvious, in which case a department doesn't necessarily want to work with you because they think you're a risk or a liability. So it is to make sure that you guys are safe, make sure that you're compliant.
Yeah, and it really is about, again, being upfront and being as transparent as possible. If there's ever anything that you feel that could be a red flag when you're about to bid on a government contract, to put in a proposal on it, put yourself out there and put your name in the hat, as we like to say, it's one of those things where the folks at the Apex Accelerators like Jay can definitely help you. The folks at MoveAmerica can definitely help you, because we've been on that side of the equation as well. We have people who were in government procurement. We have people who were in contracting, and they know if something is going to be a problem. So you can bring it up to us. It's kind of like the doctor patient or attorney client privilege. We'll keep things between us. You don't have to worry that it's going to go any farther than that, but we're going to let you know if there's going to be a potential problem, because we want to help you solve it before it becomes a real problem down the road. Because I've heard of horror stories of contractors who kept some information and then ended up getting fined, and they got fined more than they made on the contract. That's a money losing proposition.
Exactly that. But I would say the even bigger opportunity with working with Move America is those people that not only just worked in these procurement offices, but served. So they have firsthand experience of both the great opportunities there and essentially how to avoid kind of messing the bed. So definitely do the right thing. Work with Move America, work with your local Apex Accelerator.
All right, that's a wrap on today's adventure into the world of federal contracting. We covered a lot of alphabet soup, we dodged a few landmines, and hopefully made SAM.gov feel less like the final boss of a video game. But don't worry, this is just level 1. Thanks to Jay Davis for joining us, and he's going to join us for another episode where we'll unlock the next stage, how to actually win those contracts and keep Uncle Sam happy once you do. So grab your popcorn, the sequel's coming soon. Thanks so much for joining us.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views or positions of MoveAmerica or its affiliates. Always consult with a qualified professional for advice specific to your circumstances. For more information about MoveAmerica and our mission to strengthen the defense industrial base through innovation and collaboration, visit us at www.moveamerica.org. Thank you for tuning in to Pathways to Partnership, powered by MoveAmerica. Until next time, stay inspired, stay innovative, and we'll speak with you soon.